coal was put into this thing. Just got this thing to fire up thanks to one of my old auto mechanic teachers. Went to his house, asked him a couple questions. He gave me some papers, and I kind of followed them, and well, it worked. Oh my God, that's it. So as you can see, I did take off the timing cover before I went there because I thought it was timed wrong, the way it was popping out the exhaust, and I thought I had the ignition timing correct. But after looking at it, it looked correct. And he said do a compression test, and you know, if they're off, the compression will be pretty bad. I did a compression test and it was really good, like 140 pounds, 150, you know, around that area across all four. So I was like, okay, that's eliminated. So then I went to the ignition timing and it was completely off. So what I did is I put my finger over the number one cylinder spark plug hole till I felt compression, went to top dead center, went to see where the little pieces that spins in the distributor, where it was, completely rearranged the distributor cap so that that little piece was facing the number one cylinder in the firing order, and it fires 1, 3, 4, 2. So then once I did that, I kind of just lined up the rest so it does that. Went in the car and it actually fired up. So here's a little bit of a better idea for you guys. So 1, 3, 4, 2. So once you do number one, the rest of them are easy to figure out. You just plug them all in the correct way. But one thing I am a little bit nervous about is it's not building any oil pressure on the dash. So I just took off the little hose that goes to the oil pressure sending unit, and I mean, this thing is pretty crusty. I mean, it worked before I took the engine out of the car, but I disconnected it, and once I get all of that all back together, I do want to try and fire it up and see if oil shoots out of here, and then I'm going to put it back in, see if it have any reading, and if not, then my sender might have gone bad, or maybe something in the wiring, but I really hope oil comes out of this. So as you can see, I have everything all back together. Belt is all tensioned, and I do have a timing light, which I'm gonna need to use if this thing can actually stay running long enough. But the problem is, since the battery's in the car, the little power cables don't reach from the back of the car to here. So I gotta figure something out. I don't have any batteries laying around that I can use. I'm just gonna go ahead and just try and fire it up right now and see what it will do, because I do want to see if oil will squirt out of here and tell us if we have oil pressure or not. So let's just see what happens. All right, see if that did anything. Come on, baby. No oil yet. There it is. Oh man, just this whole oil pressure thing's really sketching me out. Oh, there it goes. Woo! I'm cutting it off for now. That's not good. There's no oil coming out of this. I do not like that at all. So this thing does have a brand new oil pump. So I don't know if it just needs to run and get like primed up because it's brand new and there's never been oil in it. I know it's in the slot that makes it drive, but maybe somehow that little drive like shaft thing that connects to the cam somehow fell or came out of place. But the oil pump cannot be bolted down unless it's slid in. And I remember it distinctly. I remember it sliding in and falling into place, and then I bolted it down. I'm just gonna try it one more time. This might be the death of me, but I just really just want to see if it just needs to be ran for like a couple seconds. Whoa, fired right up. No way. Oh my God. All right, it started spewing oil. Oh, what a mess it is in there. Oh, I've never been so happy to see an oil leak though. Oh, it is all over. All right, I'm putting it back in, and then I can confidently run this thing a little bit longer. Oh my gosh, what a mess. All right, so I just got the line on, and I also need to keep in mind there's no radiator in it, so I can't run this thing for very long. I mean, it's a small 4-cylinder engine. You can run it for a little bit without the radiator compared to like a V8 or something like that. The engine's not even hot yet, so I just want to see if on the gauge we have oil pressure now. Oh yeah, that is good oil pressure right there. All right, well obviously it's not running great because I just kind of ignition timed it enough to let it run. Now I just want to make sure that there's no leaks from the fitting. It doesn't look like anything new is under there. That's from last time. But oh my gosh, I am so stoked that this thing is running right now. It sounds pretty good, but I'm not gonna go ahead and run it anymore. Last thing I need is me getting a little bit too excited and running it over and over again. The thing overheats and blows a head gasket. So what I'm gonna do is get a new radiator ordered for this thing because the other one had a hole in it. And then once I get that, we can go ahead and slap it in and then actually try and run this engine. I can figure out the whole timing gun thing and get a good power source from it that's not too far away. But anyway guys, I'll catch you guys back in a couple days once I get my new radiator in. Alrighty guys, so we are back from when we last left off, and that was when we finally got this thing to fire up and run, kind of, just for a little bit, by messing around with the distributor and getting all of the spark plug wires to be on the right point on the distributor, so each cylinder is firing at the time that they need to be. Then we got the front cover all back together after realizing that I did not time it wrong, which is great. Originally, I wanted to keep an original radiator in it. So I was able to find an original, completely original one that was used for sale for a decent price, but no returns. And they were like, it doesn't look like it'll leak, but it might leak. So I kind of took that risk. I got it, and this is it right here, and it leaks like a sieve. It leaks so bad, worse than the original one on the car. So I kind of just scrapped that whole thing, and I brought the original radiator from the car to a radiator repair shop, and they said that the core was going bad and it's going to cost like $400 to fix it. So I did something that I didn't want to do, but I also don't want to dump a ton of money into this when I don't know if it'll really run. So I got an aluminum radiator, and I actually haven't even really taken it out yet to see if it would even work, but it should. You know, the companies like Moss Motors and everything like that, pretty much where I got most of the parts for this car for, but all those like British car part companies, all the radiators were back ordered, and they have been back ordered for several months. So aluminum radiators are easy to come by, are actually cheaper than original ones, and might be better at cooling. What we're going to be doing is throwing that in, filling it up with coolant, getting all the lines up and together. And what I actually did was I have my timing gun right here, this really old thing, and I actually took the battery out of my Corvette over there out so we could get the 12-volt connection that the gun needs and just have it placed over here because the battery is in the car, so that'll make it a lot easier to time this. So let's go ahead and pull this thing out for the first time. Try not to damage the fins. Ooh, this is actually really nice. I got this on eBay. See if it's a drain plug. Nice, it came with one. Needs to be tightened though. Always check that if you ever buy these. So here's a little bit of a closer look at it. Nothing crazy, but it is pretty nice. So what I'm going to do right now is just tighten up that drain plug and just go ahead and start mounting this thing in. Hopefully we don't run into any issues, and then we can finally, hopefully, get this thing to actually run for the first time since this thing has been completely apart and hand built by me, which is pretty cool. Lots of hours into this thing, but hopefully it all pays off. Alright guys, so as you can see, the radiator is all mounted on and good to go. All of the lines are on, hose clamps are tight. I have my little funnel here that once I hopefully could get this thing to run enough, I could go ahead and pour some coolant in and get all the air bubbles out. But what I'm going to just do right now is fill up the radiator, look for leaks, there shouldn't be any, and then we're going to go ahead and give this thing a startup, try and get it to run without me in the car so I could go ahead and hook up the timing light and begin timing this to get it to run a little bit better. As you guys remember, we just kept turning the distributor until it would just run. I have no idea what it's at right now, so we're just gonna play it by ear until we can get it to stay alive. I have no idea how much coolant this radiator takes. Alright, this is the last of what I have, so yeah, but it's just drinking all of it. Alright, I am gonna have to go to the store and get more. Alright, so I just picked up some more coolant, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just fill this up, and then I'll catch you guys back once I'm getting ready to fire this thing up. Alright, so I finally got the radiator all filled up. It only took about 1/4 gallon more, but once the thermostat opens and goes into the engine, then it should suck down, and then we could top everything off as the air bubbles and everything start coming out. I'm just gonna connect the battery. Alright, so now I'm just gonna hop in the car and just crank this thing up. Once I do get it to crank, I think I might just check the oil really quick. Let's try our best to keep this thing alive so we can time it. Fire extinguisher is handy. It's idling. It was just idling, running on its own. I was getting out of the car, but I did cut it off because I do want to check the oil. Last thing I need is this thing seizing up on me. But then once I make sure that we were all good there, I'm also going to check for leaks and everything. We had good oil pressure, about like 60 to 70 pounds. But I have the paperwork over here to make sure that I time this all correctly. It shows me everything that I need to look for. I'm hoping that the timing marks do show up. Alright, so I just checked the oil and it was a little bit low. A little bit too low to where I'm comfortable of running it. And I don't have any oil here, so I have to go back to AutoZone. So I'll catch you guys back once I get the oil and put it all in, and then we'll go ahead and finally time it. Alright, so I just finished up putting oil in it, and it is all good there. I just hooked up the timing light just so it is all ready to go for when it does fire up. Wet every time I walked over, and I finally found what was spraying me. There's a bolt loose on the thermostat housing. Tighten that up and then we'll tune again. Alright, so I've been trying a ton on, off camera, you know, just a lot to try and get this thing to run without the choke needing to be on, and when the choke is on, this thing is revving up to 2,000 RPM. It's crazy. It's almost like there's a vacuum leak somewhere, or possibly an air leak. So what I'm going to do is start it up again and spray some carb cleaner, like around the base of the carb, around like where the intake's going to the engine, and see if that could be the culprit that we've been trying to fight. What we need to listen for is when I spray, if it revs up on its own, that'll tell us that there's an air leak. Had it running there for a little bit without the choke on. I'm not seeing any air leaks or nothing. It didn't really rev up, which is a good sign, I guess. I still actually do want to go ahead and go back and retime it once I could get this thing to idle at the right RPM. But now that I actually just got it to run with the chokes completely off, we might be able to get somewhere with the mixture screws, because I've just been going without it even running, just turning it, trying to just adjust it, because it's so hard to keep this thing alive. Oil still looks good. Alright guys, so I just got it idling pretty dang good right now, about like 850 or so. So what I'm going to do right now is get back out the battery and hook the timing light back up, but it sounds pretty good coming out the back. Pretty mean for a 4-cylinder. So I'm going to cut it off for now, but I actually started it without the choke on. It fired right up, and what I actually did was I disconnected the vacuum advance hose and plugged off the distributor once again, along with on the carb, because I just had a feeling that the timing was not where it had to be. So I'm going to bust out the timing light once again, like I just said, and get it to where it needs to be. Choke is off. I'm just going to hit the gas one time, just like a normal carbureted car, and let's see if this thing fires up nice and easily like it did before. Oh yeah, my tack does not work. Not very accurate. So this thing is running really good. I basically got it perfectly at 11 degrees before top dead center, and the tachometer seems to be working pretty good now. You can see right there, just at about like 1,000, jumping around a little bit. Still, you know, a couple kinks to work out, but I do have the heat on and putting a little bit of a load on the engine. But it's sounding really good. I'm really happy. I'm really proud of myself right now, honestly. Completely hand-built engine. You guys saw the whole process. Tons of work, but it sounds so good. I'm gonna put in a clip of what it used to sound like, just in case you guys forgot. Lots of smoke. Something's knocking up here bad. Does not sound good. So obviously you can tell it is much better. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is try and re-hook up the vacuum advance. You're supposed to do that after you get it timed, and hopefully it stays running good. First start with vacuum advance hooked up. Let's see. Nice. This engine's been running for a pretty long time now. You can see it is operating at the perfect temperature. Good oil pressure too, even when it's completely warmed up, which is pretty awesome. But this thing is running smooth as can be now. A little bit high. I'll probably lower the idle just a tad, but obviously there's still going to be kinks to work out. Sounding perfect. Woo. Alrighty guys, so I'm really happy how everything turned out in this video. Next time we work on this thing, we could be pulling off some wheels for the first time and checking out the brakes and kind of getting this thing ready to drive. We got it good to run, which took quite a bit of time, but the brakes do build pressure. I did put fluid in when I bought the thing, and I think as long as I bleed it, they will be fine. I could probably throw in some new pads and stuff, but I'm really happy how everything came about. I mean, this was the biggest, like, engine-wise rebuild I would say I have ever done, besides maybe the NASCAR. And I mean, the NASCAR engine and this engine are very similar, basically the same thing, but the NASCAR I only did the top ends. This was top to bottom, all hand done by me, which is pretty cool. But none of this would have been possible without you guys, because obviously I did have to put a decent amount of money into parts for this. You guys are the reason why I could do things like this. But anyway guys, I'm going to be ending off this video here. Like I said, the next step for this thing is to get it to drive, and I'm really excited to drive it, mostly just because of the interior. The interior makes me feel like I'm like fancy and stuff, I don't know. I'm still going to be working out kinks with this along the way. Like you guys probably noticed that I'm running it a little bit fat right now as the engine breaks in. I'd rather run it just a little bit richer since the engine's just so fresh, but that's just me. And then I could go ahead and kind of lean it out a little bit more, a little bit down the road. And then I'm also going to change the oil after a couple more runs and get out any metal flaking or particles from the rebuild that were in there, and just get it all out and get fresh oil in there, zinc additive, and I think we'll be good. But anyway guys, I'm going to be ending off this video here. Follow my social media, they will be in the outro of this video. Instagram and Snapchat I use the most. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, and tell your friends about the channel.